All right, everybody. It is oftentimes that we truly do not appreciate a player until they're gone from the roster. Now, this is probably not the case with the player that we're talking about today. We're talking about none other than Ja'Tavion Sanders, the just amazing tight end of the University of Texas. This is a guy that Longhorn fans we have appreciated, and if you haven't, I don't know where you've been hiding underneath the rock. This is a guy that came in high expectations. I mean, a lot of people should he have gone defensive end, should he stay tight end. I mean, he's being mocked in the first round of being a tight end right now. We'll be talking about that later on in the video. So he probably did make the right decision staying at tight end. We're going to be looking at where he stands in the UT record books and what records he might hold when he leaves the University of Texas. I have no inside information that he is leaving. There's been no reports. I'm just assuming that he is going to leave when he's being mocked in the first round of NFL drafts. So we'll be talking about Ja'Tavion Sanders today. We will be appreciating Ja'Tavion Sanders today. And yeah, without further ado, let's just hop right on into it. And if you like the video, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment down below your thoughts on the video. Comment down below your thoughts on Ja'Tavion Sanders and what we've seen from Ja'Tavion. This is a Ja'Tavion Sanders appreciation video. And yeah, let's just get right on started. All right, so when you're looking at just overall receptions and just general numbers, this is where Ja'Tavion Sanders stands among David Thomas, Jermichael Finley. I don't really remember tight ends past that. I'm too young. Those are really the tight end. Those are the great tight ends that I grew up watching at the University of Texas. So that's basically my football knowledge. But I do know. I mean, there's Bo Scaife. That's one that I briefly remember. Blaine Irby was probably a little bit. He might have been on this list had not had some injuries happen. He was pretty good. Jeff Swaim was more of a two-way blocking guy. But as you can see, Ja'Tavion Sanders, he's number 2 on top 10 receptions in his career. He is likely going. I mean, all he has to do is get 6 receptions. 6 receptions, and that record is his. He will own it over David Thomas. Most receptions in a single season. His current year is the bold one, but he has the, and it's literally bold and bold print, bold font. I'm not saying it's a bold season, but I'm just saying it's literally in bold. Ja'Tavion Sanders, he does have 54 receptions. That is the most we've seen in a single season from a tight end at University of Texas. Ja'Tavion Sanders has a chance to walk away with a not just the total record, but if you give me 1 second. Yeah, I was thinking, man, I feel like he got close to that most receptions, 10 and 1 in a single game. David Thomas hasn't got that versus USC in the national championship. Might we see something with Ja'Tavion Sanders? He had 8 receptions, 105 yards versus Oklahoma State. Clearly one of his better days as a tight end at the University of Texas. One of his, 1 of 3 100-yard days that he had. And this is also, here's the crazy thing. He's been injured a little bit this year. So these numbers are a little bit not lesser, but he probably would have done more. So moving on to the receiving yards, when you go to the single season, he's sitting at 607 right now. He tied David Thomas last year at 613. All he needs is 6 receiving yards. If he gets 6 receptions and those are 1 yard each, then he is not only does he own the number of the leading, not only does he own the reception number for a tight end, the most receptions by a tight end at the University of Texas, but he then surpasses David Thomas and becomes number 2 on his own as the second most yardage by a tight end. Now, if he gets 31 yards. Ja'Tavion Sanders is the single season leader by a Texas tight end, so there's a chance that he could walk away with 3. Go down the list. Most receiving yards in a career. He has 1,220 yards. He's 147 yards below David Thomas's number. That's a number that Ja'Tavion Sanders can get. Ja'Tavion Sanders could get 150 yards in a game, no doubt. No doubt. So that's another category Ja'Tavion Sanders could very well walk away as the leader, especially when you consider there's a chance that we have 2 more games left. We have one more game guaranteed, but that he has a chance to have 150 yards in 2 games. I mean, I almost like those chances, like those odds of happening. Most receiving yards in the game, minimum 100 yards. He's done that 3 times. I mean, you can see he's clearly been one of the best tight ends that we've seen at the University of Texas. Then you just move on into the touchdowns. Most touchdowns in a single season. Look, unless he walks away with an amazing, he would have to go on one heck of a playoff run, and I guarantee you, if he does go on that, if he walks away setting the touchdown receptions in a single season, yeah, we'll talk about the mock drafts here in just a second, but his name is going to start getting mocked a little bit higher than that. Touchdown receptions in a career 7, again. Could he close the gap? Yes, he could, but if he closes that gap in the 2-game stretch, yeah, his name is going to start to heat up quite a bit on the mock draft circuit. And speaking of those mock drafts, let's just go ahead and take a little quick peek at them. So you can see right here, there's the dates on the side. Those are who the drafts are done by. But, I mean, right now, these are, take it with a grain of salt right now. I mean, you do have some other teams, like there's been some Eagles mock drafts. There's been some Saints mock drafts at pick number 22. Eagles are at 32. That's where they're projected. It's all projected stuff. Somebody's projecting San Francisco, take them at 30. Kansas State, take them at 31. But you're seeing majority of it is going to the Dolphins. And I would love that. As a fantasy football nerd, okay? I would love me some Ja'Tavion Sanders on the Dolphins. I would love me some Ja'Tavion Sanders in fantasy football, no matter what, because you see these young tight ends. They're getting significant run early on in the NFL these days. Part of the reason why I believe Ja'Tavion Sanders is gone, again, no inside info, but yeah, Ja'Tavion Sanders. I get the hunch he's gone. I mean, look. Got the little ball right there. When you're being mocked consistently in the first round, you just got to take that. When you add in, okay, young tight ends are actually starting to not just get used, but used effectively in the NFL. Yeah, it sucks. I wish we could have more seasons with Ja'Tavion Sanders right there, but I mean, this is we when you get a guy like Ja'Tavion Sanders, you know what you're signing up for. It's like a Colin Simmons at the defensive end position. You know what you're signing up for. Anthony Hill, you know what you're signing up for. We got 3 years, and this is the 3rd year of Ja'Tavion Sanders. Unfortunately, we did not use him his first year, but he's going to be used his first year in the NFL. So this is my official Ja'Tavion Sanders appreciation video. Just want to walk away and well, you know what? Let's go ahead and get a final tally on all the. Let's just say the stats that he is likely to lead. Okay, most receptions in a single season. Obviously, he's likely to lead that because he already leads that. Top 10 receptions in his career. I think he's likely to get 6 receptions in the next, and really in the next game, but also the next 2 games. If we do play in 2 games. Add on, go to the receiving yards. I don't know if it's likely, but there is certainly the chance that he gets the career receiving yards. So we'll say 3. Receiving yards in a single season. I think it's likely that he has more than 31 receiving yards. I mean, if you go and look at his receiving yards this year, 44, 14, 114. Didn't play versus Wyoming much. Didn't get a single target, at least. 110 versus Baylor. 10 versus Kansas. 13 versus Oklahoma. He was injured in those 2 games. I remember specifically Oklahoma was injured. 29 versus Houston. 37. 21. So when he's coming back from injury, yeah, he's had a hard time getting over the 31 mark, but as he starts to get healthier, 47, 32, 45, and then back to 105. I like his chances, even at 1 game. being able to get the most receiving yards in a single season and surpass William Harris and get to that 638 mark. So we'll say 4. Receiving yards in a game, most receiving yards in a game, minimum 100 yards. He could very well lead that. What's interesting is that I believe that's Jermichael Finley's only 100-yard game at the University of Texas as a tight end. I'll have to go back and let me go double check that right now. And I was correct. I mean, they're actually very similar tight ends, him and Jermichael Finley, in the fact that really we only got to see them play for 2 seasons. We only got to see them on the field for 2 seasons. Now, Ja'Tavion Sanders did get on the field his freshman year, but obviously not targeted. Most receiving yards in a career, most receiving yards single season, so I think that he can easily get that. I think that there's a chance, look, he's certainly probably the most capable tight end we've ever had at being able to surpass Jermichael Finley's number of 149 yards. So, in a big game where we're probably going to need him, man, Ja'Tavion Sanders, he has a chance at getting his 4th time on that above 100-yard list at Texas tight ends. This is that has been a list that Texas tight ends have had a hard time getting on. So we'll say 5, okay? And then you go to touchdown receptions. I don't think it's likely that he leads in these. Career-wise or single-season-wise. So, we'll set that off at, what do we got? The final tally. We got most receiving yards in a single season, we'll say 1. Most receiving yards in a career, we'll say 2. Most receiving yards in a game, minimum 100 yards. Well, I don't know if we'll say likely on that one. This set of 3 right here, I don't know if it's likely outside of the receiving yards in a single season, but it is certainly possible and more than plausible that it would happen. And then you also go on to these other ones. Most receptions in a single season, top 10 receptions. I think that these are likely to happen. So when it's all said and done, I think Ja'Tavion Sanders, he's going to lead out. He's going to have his name as the pole leader, the pole position leader, the number 1 tight end at the University of Texas in 5 of the major 6 categories when you go to look at tight end numbers. So what we've seen from Ja'Tavion Sanders has been nothing short of greatness, and this is the appreciation video. Hope he goes high in these drafts. I'd love to see him. I would love to see him come back to the University of Texas. I would love to see it. Not writing off just yet, but I'm pretty close to writing it off. All right, everybody. Hope you all have a great day. Hook 'em!